Hello and welcome to the very, very, very first podcast of the for the Patreons of the HairCut Harry YouTube channel. Just wanted to thank you all for subscribing and supporting the videos that we put together. This will be the first podcast, and what we're going to talk about the India trip, in particular that barbershop that we first visited and returned to this past year or this year. But also we want to throw out there that anybody that wants to ask questions or has any suggestions for a topic for a podcast, then please put some comments down in the comments area below, and we will see what we can do. So India. I mean, how did we wind up in India? I don't know if many of you know, but I've actually done quite a bit of traveling, and India was always on the bucket list to go to. Most people's reaction to India is much like opposites. It's like a pendulum, one or the other. It's the type of place that would turn vegetarians into carnivores and carnivores into vegetarians. And how did we wind up in Aurangabad in 1999? I knew we were going to India, and I had a map of India that I kind of like pondered over. And just outside of Aurangabad, there is the Ellora and Ajanta caves, and I'd seen some artwork and stuff on those caves and the carvings. So I decided that we would go there. So we wound up in Aurangabad, and my hair was just, I was getting to that point in the travels where I needed to kind of get my hair kind of cut a little, and I saw this barbershop on the side of the street, and it just looked interesting. It was kind of blue, it was bustling, it just resonated India to me. So I'm like, I'm going to go back and get a haircut there. What's more important is that this trip to India was actually the first time I traveled with a video camera. I'd done a lot of other traveling, like I said, and had a still camera. I'd always wanted to travel with a video camera, but just couldn't afford it. The digital video cameras that were emerging in the 90s were very expensive. So this was actually the first time I managed to get a video camera in my backpack and stuff. I actually bought it on credit card and was paying the minimum balance on the credit card while we traveled and stuff, with the idea of getting a job to pay it off when we got back. So I think when we left with the video camera, then I was trying to just document our travels and stuff, but it really wasn't working out, because you wind up with this very disjointed story. There was no story. I mean, the whole idea of having a story was just alien to me at that point in time. And so it would just be random stuff of me climbing on a local bus. And I think that what I was looking for was just to kind of film the culture, the people, the interactions with people and things. It just wasn't working out until we went to the barber shop, and Mystery Woman was with me, and she was kitted out with my camera, which was a pretty bulky, it was like a Canon XL1. I asked the guy, I was like, he didn't speak English. I didn't speak any of the local language. So I point at the camera, give a thumbs up, and, gesture that cutting the hair and stuff. And he's like, yeah, he nodded his head. Yeah, it's okay. And stuff. So we started filming. And Mystery Woman is like, she's filming. He's like, well, I've got like 5 minutes. Isn't that enough? And I'm like, no. It's like, we got to film the whole thing at the end. Mystery Woman's like, I don't know why you did that. It's like, what are you going to do with it? And I'm like, yeah, but it was fun. It was great. And stuff. So when we got back to the US, I had this tape of this video, and I would show friends and family this, I'd get the camera and I'd wire it up into the TV and play this video, and they would watch this unedited thing of me getting a haircut experience in India, and they'd be like laughing their heads off and like, oh, I can't believe that you did that. But that's as far as it went until 2006, and I was working some night shift, and there was another guy in the office there, and he was on his computer, and I wander over there, and he's like watching these videos, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, it's this new thing. Have you seen this before? It's called YouTube. And he's like, well, people just upload these videos and then you watch them online. And I'm like looking at this, and immediately the little light went on. I can share my haircut experience video right here. This is exactly what I've been looking for. I'm like, I'm going to share this video on this thing called YouTube. But the problem was that I had to edit it because I couldn't just upload the unedited video. I had to make it a little more interesting. And the cost of editing software was so outrageously expensive. And I'd look at some more professional editing software like Final Cut or Avid, and it's like my computer I had just it wasn't even powerful enough to edit a photograph, let alone edit video to that level. I'm like doing all this research, trying to figure it out, and I found this software for like, it was like $150, and it basically would edit the video for you. You put your video in and you put a music track in there, and then it would auto edit it to the length of the music. I created this account on YouTube back in 2006 and uploaded the video, and it was immediately, it was getting all these views. I mean, it got like hundreds of these views, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty impressive. And I was working at night a couple of days later, and the guy was there, and I'm like, hey, you got to watch this video. He's like, you uploaded a video? And I'm like, yeah. So I showed him the video, and he was like laughing his head off, and he's like, I can't believe you did that. And so I leave it up there, and then like about a week later, it becomes some kind of like YouTube editor's pick, and it's on the front page, and then it's like it's getting a couple of thousand views or something, and I'm like, that's crazy. 2012, it was actually the first time I was able to afford some professional software and another computer. So then that was when I redid it as the current version. People will remember it from the original video, and even now people still remember that original video from 10 years ago that was uploaded to YouTube. But a lot of people were like, oh, you got to go back and stuff. And it's good to do these return trips and full cycle trips to get a balance or get to a point, and then you move on to next. It's like getting to the end of a chapter and turning the page and moving on to the next phase. I was like, well, we've got to figure out a way to get back, because it would be good to go back to India and Aurangabad and see if we can find this barber. And if he's not there, he's not there. Then we move on. It's not it's not too bad. I mean, there's two barriers that we would have. Number one was, can we locate him? Two was the communication problem. So prior to going, I was doing an extensive search online on the internet, and just trying to find if I could find this place, the Bombay Salon. And so I was going into, trying to Google the Bombay Salon in Aurangabad, and it turned out there was a shop by that name. When I'd look on the map, it just didn't quite seem to fit into the right location or the right place from what I remembered it. So when we got to Aurangabad, I was not sure if we were going to be able to find this barber and barbershop. All I know at that point is if we drive around close to where I think it was, it may still be there. So I knew that if we went there and went to the other place, then I kind of have something to create the vlog with. So we went in to the road where we thought it was and started asking around, and people kept telling us to go over to this barbershop. And I look at it and it's like, oh, maybe it's the same place, but it's got a new name. And we went in there and we're talking to the people in there and asking them, well, do you know the Bombay Salon? And they're like, oh, it's no longer there. It was on the corner down the road there. They demolished it and they built a new business complex right there. But the owner has another salon around the corner on the main road. It was very, very different, but the barber in there was one of the original barbers, and we showed him the video. Turned out that the owner was actually the cousin of the barber that originally cut my hair in the original video, and we can phone him, and then you can meet us down here, and then you can film another video in this shop. So we thought, oh great, we actually found the guy and stuff. The original shop's not there, but he works here now. It's just his day off is what we were told, and he would come back and we could film another follow-up video, which was so great. What we decided was that we would go back to the street where the original store was and just talk to the other people in the other barbershop just to kill some time. So we go back to the original one and go in there, and I'm like filming and we're talking to them. And that was when the guy in the barber shop said, "Oh yeah, this guy, he has his own shop across town now, and he works over there. Oh, let me call such and such, and we'll get his number for you, and then you can go over there." We were like, well, wait a second. The other shop was telling us they knew who he was, and he works over there, but you're saying he has his own shop. So we drove across town, and he's actually on the outskirts of town. That's when we filmed the section where we literally are filming and go in, and I see him, and it's like, yeah, that's definitely the barber. That's definitely the barber. When we played the video, he immediately recognized himself in there in the old shop, and then he saw me in the video, and then he remembered the video being filmed, and he remembered Mystery Woman filming it. But he had no idea that it had been on YouTube for like 10 years and that everybody was watching this thing. So when he saw the little clip we showed him, that was actually the very, very first time he'd ever seen that video. So he was a little surprised. He was, in a good way. He was like kind of he was really surprised that we had gone to all the effort to come back to India and back to Aurangabad just to see him. So I think he was really touched by that. Just as we were about to leave, Manish's phone rang, and it was the barber from the other shop. They said, "Oh, we've got a hold of him. He's coming down now. So if you come back in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you can interview him and film another haircut." The other shop was trying to get an imposter to pretend to be the barber to do this so that they get a video out there to promote their business or something. They saw it as an opportunity, and the poor guy that we come to see didn't even get a phone call from them, or he had no idea until we showed up. So basically, had it not been for that, the barbershop that's across from where the original one was, then we would not have found it. Had Manish not been asking the right questions, then we really would not have found him or anything. It just seemed to just come together, and it was just a lot. It was actually a lot easier than I thought, and I really thought my backup plan was we would have done the video and then filmed a follow-up video in the barbershop where the younger barbers were, because that shop was about 40 years old. It was like a multi-generational barbershop where family business and stuff. So that was very similar to the original shop that we've been in, and I would have filmed a video there and done a story how we had not found it but found this place instead. So we went all that way, just filmed this, had this brief conversation with him and brief interaction with him, and left. But I think it was I was actually really, really surprised that we found him, and certainly glad we tried. It has, it's one of those things where you can look back on your life, and there are certain points or certain things that happen that have some kind of impact, whether you recognize it at the time of the event, of having been so significant, or whether you learn it later on in life when you reflect back on it. I mean, honestly, if it wasn't for that video originally being filmed there, the HairCut Harry YouTube channel would never have come about, because the whole channel was more accidental. The interest in filming was always there, and the interest in filming more documentary was there, but it really is accidental. The whole channel, the whole event, the point that we got the haircut back there in 1999 and stuff. So it really was good to come back to this place as a kind of a full circle and like a stepping stone before going on to whatever comes next. So after filming, it's like we literally, it was down to the line. We were lucky. We were lucky we found him, and we got there and filmed it, because we literally, I mean, it was so, at the end it was rushed. So we had enough, we found him, I interviewed him, we filmed the experience, and then had a brief conversation and stuff afterwards, and thanked him, and then we left, and literally had to get back to the hotel and pack, ready to leave very early the next morning and stuff. So we basically did it in a day. started looking, found him, filmed it all in one day, and it was good. It was good because it really was the highlight of this trip to India, the return visit. I think that this barber is a very good representation of what we're trying to do with this YouTube channel, which is really to find genuine people who do what they do and are not, they're just doing their thing, and it provides such it provides a little insight into the people and the places and the culture. And so it was good. So I hope that kind of gives you a bit more information and detail about the filming and the trip and stuff back to Aurangabad, and gives a little bit more insight into what went into it. Please, if there's more questions, then put the questions in below in the comment section and stuff. And also, as a reminder, if you want to put some suggestions for other podcasts and stuff for next month or future podcasts as we go along, then please put them in and stuff. I know that a lot of people have questions in general, but just reiterate the questions. Thank you very much for being a Patreon subscriber, and thank you very much for listening to this all the way from the beginning to here. We look forward to doing more podcasts and doing more videos in 2018, which is coming up to us really fast. And so get your comments in, and we will talk to you soon.